1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, the time kept passing and no shoe samples arrived. Phil couldn't understand it. He'd returned to America so excited and optimistic because it seemed like his meeting with the Japanese shoe manufacturer had gone so well. So he wrote to them to find out what was going on with the samples he'd been promised, which he'd paid $50 for. He then got a letter back saying, "Shoes coming in just a little more days." Phil was back at his parents' house, and so he showed the letter to his dad, who just chuckled and said, "Son, that $50 is long gone." Had Phil really been scammed? Depressed, Phil went and got a job to try and make some money. He ended up working as an accountant, but he didn't really like it. And then suddenly one morning, 12 sample pairs of shoes from Japan arrived on his doorstep. They were finally here, and it was worth the wait. They were just like he'd hoped. Phil was so excited that he went to see his old running coach Bill Bowerman to show him the new shoes and see what he thought. Bowerman was highly respected in the world of running, and he'd always been obsessed with improving athletes' shoes. In fact, back when Phil was at university with him, he'd noticed Bowerman take student shoes and cut them open and make adjustments. For example, adding more cushion or using more lightweight materials and then stitching them back together. Sometimes his experiments just made their feet painful, but quite often, Bowerman improved the shoes and made them better or more comfortable for running. One thing was for sure, Bowerman really knew his stuff when it came to running shoes, and that's why Phil had been so keen to hear his opinion on his new Japanese running shoes. Surprisingly, Bowerman liked the sample shoes so much that he offered to be Phil's business partner. And Bowerman was basically the perfect partner to have. He'd spent his life on the track training athletes, was one of the most experienced track coaches with countless records, and he was obsessed with the construction of track shoes. So Phil and Bowerman agreed to be co-founders of this new company, Blue Ribbon Sports, with both of them investing $500 each into their new company. And all that money was used to order 300 pairs of shoes from Japan at a price of roughly $3.33 per pair. Phil also wrote a letter to Onitsuka asking if Blue Ribbon Sports could be the exclusive distributor of these Tiger shoes in the western United States. They agreed, and shortly after, in April 1964, a shipment of 300 Tiger shoes arrived from Japan. Phil now had a shoe supplier, a business partner, and hundreds of shoes to sell. There was just one problem. What Phil didn't have was anywhere to sell the shoes. You see, when Phil went to all of the local sporting goods stores to see if they'd stock the shoe, they didn't take Phil seriously, and they said they had no need for another track shoe. So Phil realized he was going to have to sell these shoes himself.